All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So last week we started the discussion of the fiqh of fasting, right? And a very important discussion we discussed regarding the sighting of the moon, right? Very important, very contentious topic we discussed regarding the sighting of the moon. And so as I said last week, moving forward, anyone wants to talk about the sighting of the moon, you just go and watch that video, because I'm not going to be fighting and arguing with people. Rather, you listen to that lecture or that class, and then inshallah, you can argue with yourself, inshallah. But today we move on. So last week we discussed regarding the types of fasts and so on. Now we're going to talk about the fourth topic, which is the timing for fasting, right? Which is, again, may seem common and may seem like basic knowledge, but this is, of course, you have to go through the topic, right? So وقت الصوم من حين طلوع الفجر الثاني إلى غروب الشمس. The timing of the fast is from the beginning time of Fajr until the setting of the sun. This is the timing of the fast. Now, believe me when I tell you, I have seen people with my own eyes who think that the time of fasting starts after the adhan finishes. After the adhan of Fajr finishes, that's when the time of fasting starts, which is obviously wrong. But I've seen people with my own eyes, not in our masjid, but other masjid, just before I joined this masjid. But I saw people and they were still eating. And I'm like, the adhan is going on. Why are you eating, you know? And he said, no, it's okay to eat until the adhan finishes. I said, who told you this? Ji? Nee, not adhan tahajjud. Husn adhan, uncle asked husn adhan, you know? But no, this is the actual adhan of Fajr. But that's what they... So yes, of course, the adhan of tahajjud, yes, you can eat through that, right? But you cannot eat, and even after the adhan of tahajjud, you can also eat. But you cannot eat after the adhan of Fajr. Because obviously the adhan of Fajr means that the timing of Fajr has started. And so therefore you cannot eat after that. Rather, you must be careful because nowadays we have the timing, you should not be eating after that time. And regarding the timing, just to say, there are generally two timings of Fajr, right? Based on the angles and so on, the 15 degrees, 18 degrees discussion, which I'm not going to get into. But essentially, the more correct opinion is the opinion that we follow. We generally try to follow the more safest opinion. Generally, in most cases, we try to follow the more safest opinion. Okay, the opinion that is, that all of the scholars or most of the scholars, they will agree on this. So essentially, there's two timings of Fajr, the earlier timing and the later timing, right? Just to give you they're about 15, 17 minutes apart. Let's say, for example, about 15 minutes apart, right? Now, most masajid, what they do is what? They take the second timing, the later timing, right? Whereas there are many scholars that say that the time of Fajr begins at the first timing. So now, according to those scholars, your fast is broken. Yes? If you eat after the first timing, according to those scholars, your fast does not count. Does that make sense? Right? So therefore, why risk your fast? You're fasting for 12, 14, 16 hours sometimes, right? Alhamdulillah, right? You're fasting for so many hours. What is 15 minutes? It's not that big of a difference, right? Start your fast the earlier time. And that is the time that we generally give, right? So again, it's not only the ihtiyat position, but this is the more correct position, right? But it's also ihtiyatan. It's also based on precaution, right? Because if you follow our opinion, according to everybody, if you stop eating according to the earlier timing and you start your fast from there, then your fast is valid according to everybody, yes? That makes sense, right? So therefore, start the fast earlier. It's 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes, pray some tahajjud, right? Pray some nafil, whatever. Even if you think that, okay, Fajr has not started yet, then tahajjud, pray tahajjud. If you think Fajr started, then read some Quran. Right? This is Ramadan. We're talking about Ramadan. So be a bit more precautionate. For 15 minutes, you're going to risk your entire day of fasting. Don't do that. Don't do that. My humble request is start the fast earlier. As I said, many scholars, they say that the time begins from the earlier time. So therefore, use the earlier timing and don't risk your fast. Okay? Yes? Any questions? Okay. Right. Not everything is about convenience, right? Not everything. Like if there is an option of convenience, then we'll give it to you, right? But here, it seems that, just for those 15 minutes, you don't want to risk the entire fast. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to describe what is the actual definition of fasting. والصوم والإمساك عن الأكل والشرب والجماع نهارا مع النية. Right? Fasting is refraining from eating, drinking, and having relations with your spouse during the day, right? During the day, and while maintaining the intention of fasting, right? So you cannot eat, you cannot drink, and you cannot have relations with your spouse during the day. And you must have the intention of fasting. So you can fast all day, all night, everything. But if you don't have any intentions, then your fast does not count. Yeah, following along? Right. And if you do make the intention, then you cannot eat, drink, or have relations with your spouse. If you do intentionally, you do this, then there are severe repercussions. We'll talk about it, inshallah. Okay? But essentially, these three important things. Okay? Understood? Any questions? Okay. فإن أكل الصائم أو شرب أو جامع ناسيا لم يفطر. Okay? If someone eats food or drinks or has relationship with their spouse, forgetting that they're fasting. Very important. They forgot that they're fasting. In that case, that does not break their fast, and their fast remains intact. So you're eating like steak and burgers and everything, right? And then you realize, oh wait, I was fasting, So whatever you ate, leave it, right? Now, question, right? Let's get into some technicals, right? Let's say you see somebody eating. Should you stop them or not? So the scholars, they say that if it's a young person, stop them. When I say young, I mean like someone who is no, not children. I mean like someone who's strong, capable, like 40s, within that age range. I'm saying like anything under 40-ish or even under 50, for example, you're young, right? Inshallah. In terms of strength, like generally you're like able to live you're able to fast without difficulty, right? Once, let's say you go past 60s, for example, and maybe it becomes a bit difficult, for example, to fast, right? I'm just giving numbers, right? But essentially, if you see somebody who is a strong, healthy person, stop them. Hey, listen, don't eat, you're fasting. But if you see someone who's elderly, let them finish eating out of respect and out of for them to take care of themselves, and also out of of course they're doing it forgetting that they're fasting, obviously, right? So assume that Allah Ta'ala is feeding them. Okay? All right.
Question.
Yes.
So assuming you forgot fasting and eating food that is so dry, and you just realize you're fasting, but your throat is like dry like a wood, right? So
Even if you're eating dry food, you cannot drink water after that, right? But let's talk about a similar masala, right? Someone eats food, right? Then they eat food unintentionally. Then they think to themselves, oh man, I ate food, so that means my fast broke. Thinking that it broke, even though it did not break. Then they go and drink intentionally, second time intentionally, right?
and then it is broken.
Right. So in that case, yes, the fast does break, but there's no kafara, only qada. Even though they intentionally ate or intentionally drank, but because there's a doubt, they thought that it was okay to eat, and they thought their fast broke, right? So therefore, in that case, it would be permissible. I mean, not sorry, forget. Meaning it would they would only have to give qada, not kafara. Only have to make up that one fast. But that's if you think that your fast broke. Now, in your situation, your fast did not break. You can't go drink water. Let me just finish eating my food. You can't do that. Okay, any other questions? Okay. فإن نام فاحتلم. Right? Um, okay. فإن نام فاحتلم. If someone is sleeping and they have a wet dream. أو نظر إلى امرأته فأنزل. Or he looks at his wife. I mean, mashallah, the people at that time, right? They were like, you know, very innocent people, right? So he looks towards his wife and he ejaculates without touching or anything, right? أو ادهن. Or he puts on oil. أو احتجم. Or they do hijama. أو اكتحل. Or they do kuhl, which is the, you know. أو قبل. Or they kiss their spouse, right? لم يفطر. In that case, this does not break your fast, right? So any of these things that you do, this will not break your fast, right? So for example, someone's sleeping and they, they have a wet dream, right? Or without touching anybody, they release. Or they put oil. Some people, they have this misunderstanding. They think you cannot put oil on your head or on your body, right? You can. It's perfectly fine. Even if you do hijama, that's also fine as well, right? So same thing with taking out blood, right? Meaning like donating blood, for example, and so on. Ideally, you shouldn't do it. Ideally, don't donate blood while you're fasting, right? Why? Because you're going to get more weak. So don't do it, ideally, right? But let's say someone does it. Someone donates blood while they're fasting. That's okay. Or someone puts some eye drops, they put the kuhul, all of these things, that's okay, right? Or if you kiss your spouse, but not like, not with lips, but like on the cheeks or something, that's also okay as well. Okay. Now, let's say you kiss your spouse, or you touch your wife, and then like, you release, right? So you didn't have relation with her, but just because you're touching her or you're kissing her, you release. In that case, only qada, no kafara. فإن أنزل بقبلة أو لمس فعليه القضاء ولا كفارة عليه. Okay. ولا بأس بالقبلة إذا أمن على نفسه ويكره إن لم يأمن. If someone, there's no problem with kissing your wife if you feel that I will not, I will not release or anything like that. But if you fear that you will release, then it's makruh. Right? Knowing that you'll release or you'll get too excited, then it's makruh to do so. Understand? Yes? Everybody understands? Okay. So you should not kiss on the lips. You can kiss on the cheek and on the forehead, for example. That's perfectly fine. وَإِن ذَرَعَهُ الْقَيْءُ. Right, now let's talk about another important one, right? وَإِن ذَرَعَهُ الْقَيْءُ لَمْ يُفْطِرْ. Right? If someone vomits, right? Meaning in most cases, vomiting does not break your fast. Right? وَإِن استقاء عامدا ملء فمه فعليه القضاء. If someone vomits full mouth intentionally, right? Meaning they force themselves to vomit, right? Intentionally, meaning like they force themselves. In that case, they have to do a qada only. But in all other cases, if you vomit, your fast does not break. Okay, clear? Questions? I don't know why people have this misunderstanding. So many times I've heard this. Oh, if someone vomits, they break their fast. No. Vomiting does not break your fast. Okay. وإن ابتلع الحصاة أو الحديد أو النواة أفطر وقضى. Right? If someone eats like, pebbles or iron or like seeds or something, like, meaning things that you don't eat, things that are not generally meant for consumption. In that case, your fast breaks, but only have to do qada. Okay. So back to the blood, right? So you can extract blood. You can also take injections. You can take injections, for example, into the arms and the legs and so on, so long as something is not injected into the stomach. If something is injected into the stomach, then it will break the fast. Okay, so for example, sometimes there's some procedures that you need to be injected into the stomach, then generally that will break the fast.
The insulin, sometimes people take it
Yeah.
in the skin of tummy. Even it's
the skin or the tummy itself?
Not inside, like the fat skin. You can put the insulin right here.
But what's the benefit of putting it there instead of the arm?
Insulin is most of the time recommended
It's recommended to put it. Okay. Does it? Yeah. Inside the stomach or inside the skin?
On the muscle.
On the muscle?
Yeah, right around the belly.
Okay, I'll look into it. I'm not sure. I'll look into it, inshallah. If it's not injected into the stomach, then it should be fine, but I will look into it. Just because
it's more effective on the this area
Yeah.
than muscle. It's not
Okay. I'll look into it. I'll look into it, inshallah. Any other questions? Okay. So for example, anything that goes into for example, the mouth or the nose, right? Or something is injected directly into the stomach, that breaks the fast. Other than that, everything else, or most other things don't break the fast. For example, IV does not break the fast. But now, should you be strapped to an IV all day, every day? No, you should not, right? Don't do that, right? Don't play around with Sharia, obviously. But if you are injected with an IV, that does not break your fast. Even if they're pumping you with liquids and all these other things, that does not break your fast. Okay. As for example, someone takes asthma pump, that breaks the fast, right? So if you need to take it, that's a different story. But you don't just take it just because, some people, maybe they want to take it or something. You can't do that. But if you need to take it, obviously, don't stop. Take the inhaler, but that will break your fast. Understand? But of course, life is more important than that one fast. So make sure that you're not risking your life. So keep the inhaler with you and then inhale if you need to. Same thing with the nose, right? For example, you have the nasal sprays. You cannot do it unless it's life or death, which I don't know what type of, but maybe you have some sort of a mask or something. I don't know. Eye drops are fine. Eardrops are fine. All of these other things are fine.
Why the inhaler?
Because it's directly related to the mouth and the nose.
And
right?
if you put an eye drop or ear drop,
You sometimes taste it, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. It doesn't break the fast. Eardrops, eye drops, is okay, even if you taste it. The nose and mouth, that's the actual connecting to the stomach. So that's what's breaking the fast. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. ومن جامع عامدا في أحد okay. Okay, someone who أو جامع one second. أو أكل أو شرب ما يتغذى به أو يتداوى به فعليه القضاء والكفارة. Now let's talk about the others, right? So if someone intentionally has relation with their spouse, or they eat food, medicine, or they eat food, medicine which is not required, right? But they take it, right? Or they take any type of food intentionally. So the medicine, you don't need it. It's not life or death. It's like, oh, I have a light headache, so I'm going to take some. No, you can't do that, right? And if you do that, you have to give qada and you have to give kafara. Now, kafara is extremely difficult, right? We're going to talk about it, right? But essentially, it's 2 consecutive months, 60 days consecutive fasting. It's hard, right? So if you intentionally eat, drink, or have relation with your spouse, you have to fast for 60 days consecutively, right? And it's very difficult, right? Obviously. And I'm not going to go further into details unless you guys need it. But essentially, just avoid doing that kind of stuff. Okay?
One fasting 60 days. If someone intentionally breaks 30 days, so
Let's say that again.
that's multiplied by.
If someone breaks in all 30 days?
Yeah.
If they break all 30 days, then Alhamdulillah, Sharia says one time only.
Okay.
Only one time. So all of the kafaras will be into one.
Even if there is a break,
Yeah, let's say someone intentionally breaks their fast day 1 and day 5 and day 12 and day 19 and whatever, all of those, they'll only give one kafara. Otherwise, that person would go crazy. Your whole life will be fasting, right? Alhamdulillah, Sharia has made it somewhat flexible. Obviously, it's wrong. What you did was wrong, but still, it's reasonable, right? Islam is a very reasonable religion. Alhamdulillah. It's always very pragmatic. Alhamdulillah. Okay. ومن جامع فيما دون الفرج فأنزل فعليه القضاء ولا كفارة عليه. Okay, so someone has relations not in the private area but somewhere else, then they have to give qada. Well, let's move on. وليس في إفساد الصوم في غير رمضان كفارة, right? If someone breaks a fast outside of Ramadan, no kafara. So any fast outside of Ramadan, no kafara. Understand? Yes, you have to do qada, but no kafara. Yes? So you break any fast outside of Ramadan, no kafara. Okay. ومن احتقن أو استعطى أو أخطر في أذنه أو داوى جائفة أو آمة بداء رطب فوصل إلى جوفه أو دماغه أفطر. Right? If someone, okay, this is just like kind of going into like a bit more complicated, but basically, if someone uses the private parts, they use the private area to take medicine or some other things like that, then that will break their fast. And they have to give qada, no kafara. Okay?
I have one question. The
Yes.
60 days, you can take like a whole year or just you have to do
One shot,
one shot.
6 days consecutively, one after the other. Yeah. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard, right? It's very hard. And according to us, if you have the ability to fast, you must do it. You must do it. Some people they're like, oh no, you can feed this many people, you can do that. Nope, nope. You must fast. There's no options.
And this is not like something done in the past, like 5 years ago. Still can do the order.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be on the within the same year.
Yeah. So if someone has to do kafara, this is the time to do it right now. This is the best time to do it, right? Because Fajr comes in like 6 or like around 6 o'clock and it ends at like 5 p.m. So you have like 11 hours of fasting basically, right? And you have like about 2 months until Ramadan. So if you have to do kafara, do it now. Before, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you have to do it, you have to do it. I will not judge you, right? I'm being serious. Like, at any time, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. I will not judge you, inshallah. I want to make that very clear. And there was a time that I thought, maybe I'll do. I still think about it. Maybe once a week I will do a Zoom Q&A, right? And anyone can come. You can change your name and you can ask questions anonymously. Right? That way you don't have to like, that way maybe if you feel that I'm judging you or something, even though I will not judge you, but I was thinking if there are enough people that ask, then I'll do it. But nowadays people ask. I have the WhatsApp group chat also. Anyone who wants questions, you can ask on that WhatsApp group chat. So I've given you many options. All of you have my email. You can make a fake email. I have like the temporary emails. You can make those temporary emails and send me an email also. You can do all sorts of things to avoid telling me who you are. There are people, by the way, who've texted me. I have no idea who they are. And like at one point I asked, what's your name? Because there's this one person, I don't know who she is. It's a woman. I believe she's a woman, right? She texts me all the time. Like asks me masalas, like crazy masalas, like all day, like all the time. Anyways, I think one time I asked, what's your name? Because of a reason. There was a reason. Like, what's your name? She said, I don't want to say my name. I said, okay, don't tell me your name. And so till today, I don't know. I have her saved as random lady. That's her. That's it. Random lady. I don't know who she is, right? But I don't mind. Like, if anyone does ask me questions, number one, it's confidential. It will remain between us. I will never expose your name, right? And I'll never make fun of you, inshallah, and all of those other things, inshallah. So feel free, believe me, it's likely whatever problem you're going through, it's likely I've heard worse. It's likely I've heard worse from somebody else. So there's no point. There's no point in it's better you address it and get an answer. But as I said, if you want to figure out some other way to contact me, you can do so also.
There was a box.
Yeah, I had a box. No one
asked, so that you can broadcast, not mentioning the name, but
yeah.
at least for awareness, other people can get that.
Yeah, but then let's say someone puts it there, and then I mean, I could do it, I guess. Maybe once a week,
You
I
have to
guess.
rewrite the question.
Yeah. Let's see. Anyways, khair. I'm just telling you all of this so that anyone can feel comfortable to ask me questions. Okay, moving on. Any other questions regarding fasting? Okay. Um, okay. وإن أفطر في إحليل لم يفطر إن okay. Okay. ومن ذاق شيئا بفمه لم يفطر ويكره له ذلك, right? Now we're going to talk about some things that are makruh, right? Some things that are makruh. Tasting something is makruh, right? Um, Tasting something doesn't break your fast, but it's makruh, right? For example, tasting toothpaste, right? Flavored toothpaste, it's makruh, right? So ideally you shouldn't do it, but that does not break your fast, number one, right? Number two, for example, tasting food, right? Tasting food also is makruh, but it doesn't break your fast. But it doesn't become makruh for that woman whose husband is abusive, right? That woman whose husband is abusive, she can taste the food just in case her husband beats her because, astaghfirullah, forgive me for laughing, but I mean, hopefully this is not happening in our society. Uh, I laugh because, inshallah, this is absurd. This is absurd to me, right? That how can a husband get so annoyed with his wife that he hurts her for less salt or more salt or something like that? It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not laughing at the beating. I'm laughing at how absurd this is, right? It doesn't make sense to me. So if you are a husband who abuses, right, then don't do that, please. This is pathetic. Okay. All right. So okay, so otherwise, tasting things are makruh, and ideally you should not taste something, right? But let's say, my recommendation, if you have younger kids, make younger kids taste it, bring the younger kid. How does it taste? Tastes good? Okay, then go back to playing, you know. But we generally should not taste. ويكره للمرأة أن تمضغ لصبيها الطعام إذا كان لها منه بد, right? It's makruh also. Sometimes women, what they like is they chew the food for the babies or for like the kids, right? Also, that's makruh because the taste comes in the mouth, right? So you should not taste or choose a food. Right? ومضغ العلك لا يفطر الصائم, right? Basically, there's a type of like cleansing thing, like a good flavor in the mouth. It's like made out of like miswak type thing. That people they used to sometimes chew on it for the flavor, right? And so the mouth does not smell as bad, right? That's makruh as well, right? So essentially, using a miswak is not makruh, but using some flavored thing is makruh. Understand? So miswak is okay, toothbrush is okay, but even if it's a flavored miswak, it's okay. Meaning natural flavor, not like added flavors. Natural miswak is okay, but you should not use toothpaste, right? My recommendation is get the natural toothpaste. For example, they have Tom's of Maine and they have other natural toothpaste. If you use those, it's not makruh. But if you use other toothpaste, it's makruh. Understood? Yes? Okay. ومن كان مريضا. Okay. Let's do okay.
One
Let's
question
yes, go
about
ahead.
the food testing.
Yes.
For people who has a restaurant, they need to certify their customer, right? So if they have food is tested, that they may have a complaint. Right?
Yeah.
So
Good question. Good question, right? Yes, that's okay. Meaning it's still makruh. It's still makruh, but it's okay. My recommendation would be to get someone who's not Muslim, for example, or someone who is, let's say you have let's say you have workers who are not Muslim, that's okay. Otherwise, younger kids, for example, Okay. ومن كان مريضا في رمضان فخاف إن صام ازداد مرضه أفطر وقضى. Okay. So someone is sick in Ramadan. Now he's so sick that if he fasts, he fears that if he fasts, or he or she fears, if I fast, I will get more sick or I will die. Right? In that case, you'll break the fast and you'll make up qada later. Okay. So as much as humanly possible, don't break it. But if you need to break it, you can break it and do qada later. Okay. Now, how would you know? How would you know that um, you're actually sick? Right? So there are a couple of ways. One is ghalib dhan. One is ghalib dhan, right? One is that like your overpowered view. Like, oh, based on previous experience, I know that if I fast, I will get more sick and I will get worse. Yes. So in that case, that would be one reason. Another way is if a righteous Muslim doctor tells you that if you fast, then you'll get worse. In that case, also, it's okay to break. Okay.
Doctor will have to be a Muslim.
Yeah. Doctor has to be Muslim. So I know many of us don't have Muslim doctors, but maybe this should be something, this should be a reason why we go to Muslim doctors. Right? The reason is because you need a Muslim, you need, why a non-Muslim doesn't care. Non-Muslim will always tell you break your fast. You understand? Non-Muslim will always say break your fast. You don't have to fast. But the Muslim realizes that the fasting is very important. Fasting is fard. They understand fard. And so therefore, then the Muslim doctor will explain to you in the proper manner. Non-Muslim doctor will tell you break the fast first time. Any problem, break the fast. Like headache, break your fast. They don't care, right? That's why you have to ask the Muslim doctor. So either ghalab dhann, meaning you're overpowered thinking. You believe and you know based on past experience that this is what happens. If I fast, I get more sick, right? Or based on a Muslim doctor telling you. Okay? وإن كان مسافرا لا يستضر بالصوم فصومه أفضل وإن أفطر وقضى جاز, right? Someone is traveling, right? And we'll stop here inshallah. Actually, 1 second. No, let's do a little more and then we'll stop. So, but end of the last discussion inshallah. So he says that someone is traveling. If they will not be harmed by fasting, then they should fast. Meaning if it's not like extremely difficult, fast, right? And obviously fasting is better. But if you decide I will break the fast and I will do qada later, that's also okay. Understand? Someone is traveling more than 53 miles, for example, and they want to break their fast, they can. They have the option to not fast. Okay. According to our scholars, we say if you start a fast, you should not break it. Right? Let's say, so this is a kind of like a bit of a longer masala. Let's say you start the fast, right? You start in America, at home, for example. Then your flight is 2 p.m., for example. Right? So you get to you leave your house, let's say 9 a.m., for example, right? Or 10 a.m., for example, right? Now you're at the airport, you're musafir now. According to our scholars, you should still not break the fast, right? But if you do break the fast, you only have to do qada, no kafara. Okay, so ideally you should not break the fast, but if you do, it's okay. Meaning it's not okay, but it's not, you don't have to give kafara. Understand? Does that make sense? Okay. وإن مات المريض أو المسافر وهما على حالهما لم يلزمهما القضاء. Right? If the sick person or the musafir, they died, right? Meaning while they're musafir or while they're sick, they pass away. In that case, there's no qada necessary. Meaning they don't have to give any kafara or anything. Meaning qada was not necessary because they never became healthy enough or they never stopped traveling so that they can make up the fasts. Understand? So let's say someone gets sick and now they're going to make up the fast later. They're thinking, I'll make up the fast after I get better, but then they pass away. In that case, those fast, no qada for those. وإن صح المريض أو أقام المسافر ثم مات لزمهما القضاء بقدر الصحة والإقامة. Right? If now the opposite, someone is sick, or someone is traveling, they think, okay, I cannot fast now, I will fast later. Then they become healthy, or they stop traveling. And then they had time to make up the fast, but they didn't make up the fast. In that case, they have to give meaning they have to give the what do you call it? They have to give compensation for that. Basically, for each person, they must give for each fast that they must give a certain amount of money, and meaning obviously the person cannot do it now, and so therefore they'll give a certain amount of money for that. And for that details, you can contact me later. That's basically known as fidya, right? Maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it, it's okay. But it's known as fidya, right? And it's not a large amount, but it is an amount. It's similar to, it's the same as sadaqatul fitr. Sadaqatul fitr is, we did it. How much is it? We did it last week or the week before. Huh? less than $10. Yeah, $7, $8 basically. Bare minimum is about like $7, $8 basically, right? But essentially, for every fast that is missed, you have to give that much money, right? But it's not like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to fast and I'll give $7. No, you can't do that. If you have the ability to fast, you must fast. We're talking about the person who's, let's say, very old, very sick, for example, they cannot fast. In that case, then they can give fidya on behalf of instead of fasting. Does that make sense? But this is not a blanket ruling. If someone has a mas'ala, speak to me first. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to give fidya, right? Don't do that. If you have a question, ask, and then I will clarify, and then you can go ahead and do what you like. Okay, inshallah? Any questions? We'll stop here, inshallah.
Yes.
Yes.
While traveling, fasting, and we were at the airport, and the flight is at 5 o'clock, but the breaking fast is at 6 p.m. Assuming the plane take off. When actually breaking the fast will take place?
Sunset.
Is it this time that I was left, or
Sunset where you are.
but sunset is different than one?
Yeah, so sunset where you are. Wherever you are, that's the sunset. So for example, let's say the sun sets in the west, right? And you are going, for example, the east, right? In that case, the sun will set quicker. Yes.
Yeah.
Sun will set very quickly. That's fine, right? But let's say you're going in the same direction as the sun. Let's say you're coming from Bangladesh and you're going the same direction, right? Or what is it? Europe to America. Yeah. You're flying against time. So basically the time extends, right? I think whatever it is, right? My mind is not working right now. It's too late. But basically, if your day is becoming longer, that's how it is, you know? Let's say, for example, you start your fast in let's say Europe, for example, and the day is longer. By the time you land here, let's say it was 10 a.m. when you left, and now you arrived, it's only 12 p.m., for example. It doesn't matter. Oh, let's do America. Let's say you're traveling from East Coast to West Coast, right? Let's say you're taking the 8 a.m. flight from IED to let's say LA, for example, right? You're traveling 5-6 hours flight. You get there, it's only 10 a.m. Doesn't matter. You still follow that timing. Okay. Even though, let's say, for example, let's say you're taking the 4 p.m. flight from IED, right? So then you're traveling over there. If sunset happens where you are, then you'll break the fast. But if sunset does not happen, which it will not happen, you'll keep going. And let's say whatever time the sunset happens where you are, that's where you will break the fast. Okay.
It's a long hour.
Yeah. So ideally avoid traveling like that. Don't travel. Okay.
One last question. This is not related to fasting, but more of qada, right? If for Ramadan we can do the qada,
Yes.
then a lot of scholars saying for the prayer, right? There is no qada. So how that actually?
I mean, someone who dies?
No, not dies. Like missing prayers, right? For prayer.
Yeah. What about it?
Like, can someone do the qada or no?
I don't understand.
Qada.
When
you fly? No. Generally, like if I miss a prayer.
Okay, you miss a prayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And or something
You must do qada. You must do qada.
We missed in the past.
You must do qada. You cannot give fidya. You can only give fidya when you cannot pray. Let's say someone dies and they had 1,000 salah they missed and they did not do qada. They should tell their family, I have 1,000 salah, give fidya on my behalf. So it's like $7,000-8,000 they have to give. It's not bad. But ideally you have to make it up when you're alive. How do you make it up? Along with one fard, you pray one more fard. Along with Isha, you pray one more Isha. With Maghrib, one more Maghrib. And like this. Understand? If it's a lot, like 10 years, for example, then do 2 or do 3 salah. With every Fajr, pray 2 Fajr. Right? Every Dhuhr, pray 2 Dhuhr. And like this. Okay? Any questions? All right, we'll stop here, inshallah.